Welcome all. Hey, Ross. Good to see you. I'm actually in Melbourne this week.
Fancy that. And we've turned on some sunshine for you, which is pretty strange.
I was rather pleased that I missed the heat wave in Sydney this week.
Yeah.
I'll jump around a few different states to avoid it, shall I? I'm traveling week on, week off at the moment. I've done Brisbane, and then now it's Melbourne. Then I go Canberra, Adelaide, and then back to Brisbane. So it's a bit on the go. So this one and the next user group I'll be doing remotely. I am tethered to my phone, so sorry if anything happens throughout this particular session. I'll apologise right now. So let's get ourselves in and started. We've got a few coming in and more to come. Right. Yeah, let's get in. So welcome. We are all hopefully here for the Australian Microsoft 365 Adoption User Group. This is March. This presentation is available for you should you wish. I have dropped it into our chat, so the link is in chat. In fact, I might even just pin that to the top of the chat for you so that you can find it once you get to the end as well. So let me pin this. There you go. So we do have that pinned. At any point you can watch the recording. The recording will be loaded up within the next couple of days to the Adoption YouTube channel. That is aka.ms/M365 Adoption, or you can look up on YouTube. It's actually called the Microsoft 365 Adoption YouTube channel. So I'm being rather privileged to be able to get that channel. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we all happen to be meeting from today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples that have joined us today. I ask that we be open and welcome to all questions. We be kind and understanding of the differences. Not everyone will have the same level of knowledge or understanding, and that we use the most appropriate GIFs and images in chat throughout the session. So thank you very much. This session, this is some of my details. If you haven't actually met me before, if you're new to the session, my name is Kirsty McGrath. I am an adoption consultant, an employee experience, a trainer, or all those various and sundry things. And I have now been running the Adoption User Group for 7 years. So what have I been up to? I'm rather excited. I've just got myself the Surface Studio and I've got my new pen. So I'm playing around, and it's the 1 terabyte high-end 64 gig. So I've got the beast of the beast with the amount of demos and training on things that I do. So I've been having a lot of fun with that one so far. I do like it, I have to say. I always have all various iterations of the laptop. Yeah, I know, Craig, 7 years. It has been a while. Sometimes I think, what am I doing? It's been so long. I know. So what have I been up to? I always like to start a bit of, where have I been? What have I been doing? My grandson, he started school this year, so we're all very excited. His pants are down to his middle of his ankles because they're so huge. It's hilarious. It was also my identical twins' 24th birthday. We only had one of them along, so we went out for a nice dinner. And with me doing a ton of travelling around, I had one 6 a.m. flight. Geez, it was up at the crack of dawn at 3:15 in the morning. Got to see a beautiful sunrise over the water, so really enjoyed it. And not that long ago, 2 weeks ago, when I was in Brisbane, I actually presented at the Brisbane User Group. So I had a lot of fun. I was with Craig and I listened to Craig talking about Teams Premium and went, can you come talk with us? Because this one's kind of recorded. And yes, Ed Sheeran, right? I did. I went to Ed Sheeran. It was just fabulous. I really enjoyed it. I was so surprised. I didn't realise how much looping and of his own stuff. One man on a stage. It was like you wouldn't think it would be so entertaining, but he did a really great job. So that's what I've been up to. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over now to our guest speaker. I really want to thank Craig for coming in. He's a subject matter expert at Microsoft, looks after Teams Premium. He's also an ex-MVP. We were a little sad to see him go to the blue badge. Certainly they're a wonderful place to be inside Microsoft and helping and supporting clients. So I wanted to thank him for coming along to talk Teams Premium so that we and get a bit of an understanding. Because this is a recorded session, there's only certain questions he will be able to answer. If there's something in particular that you might like to know, we can always answer those questions a little later on when we turn off recording, if there's something in particular you do need to know. Okay, so I'll let us hand over so he can talk around Teams Premium. So if you would like to present your screen, Craig, I will stop presenting.
I would love to. And how was Ed Sheeran, by the way? I watched, I was flicking through possibly Instagram or Facebook or something over the weekend, and I came across his video where he shows how he creates those loops. And I was
It is very impressive. It's really, really impressive. I would highly recommend going and seeing, even if you like a few of his songs. He really interacts with the audience very well. And boy, does he put some money into his stage production. I don't think I've seen that much money spent on a stage production in a while.
And he had 110,000 people.
Yeah, huge audiences.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, slightly smaller audience here today, but all good. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this as well, Kirsty. And Ross, if you could do me a favor during the meeting and send me that that background, that would be fantastic. I have not seen that before. That's awesome. I'll have to add that one into.
That is the if you're using a certain version of Teams that we have internally, there's a special selection of backgrounds that you can put on, and that flags the fact that you're using the special version of Teams.
Okay. I'll have to go digging then. But yeah, we certainly won't talk about that whilst we're being recorded. But yeah, maybe for sure. So Kirsty already introduced me. I'm Craig Chiffers. I've known Kirsty for years. I didn't realize it was 7 years. That's fantastic, by the way. 7 years. Yeah, I caught up with Kirsty last time she was here in Brisbane, and we talked a little bit about Teams Premium. And that's what I'm here to talk about today as well. So a couple of things. First of all, if you have any questions during the session, just unmute, jump in, raise your hand, ask them in the chat as well. If I miss it in the chat, I'm sure Ross or Kirsty or someone will point it out to me. Maybe Bryce as well. I can see on the camera.
I'll definitely tell you any questions, Craig. Happy to yell them out.
No problem. And that giant QR code that's on the screen there as well, give that a scan if you like. That'll take you to all my socials, my contact card, etc. And if you haven't got one of those flashy phones that does that, you can also go to that address there, linktree /Chippers. All right, let's delve into it. Kirsty, how long do I have approximately?
Oh, it's fine. Go for it. For 35, 40 minutes. So
I won't talk for that long, but tell me to shut up if I start rambling.
30 minutes, whatever you like. So depends on questions too. So. Well,
that's true. Yeah, exactly right. All right, so we'll get the marketing spiel out of the way first of all, right? So just so everyone's on the same page here, when we're talking about premium it's essentially a set of additional tools and feature add-ons that make your existing meetings in Teams and your webinars more intelligent, personalized, and secure. Now, as I say, of course, that's the marketing lingo out the way, but what does it actually look like when you start using this on a day-to-day basis in your role? Now, being inside of Microsoft, I've had the privilege of partially using some of these features. I'm sure Ross is exactly the same there as well. What does it actually look like to use this tool on a daily basis? So we'll delve into that. Essentially, before we do though, I think it's important to point out, I did this in Brisbane too, and I saw some confused faces in the crowd. On the left-hand side there, on the slide there, we've got Teams Premium. Now, this is what we're here to talk about today. On the right-hand side, we've got a very similar name, SKU, and perhaps prior to it being named Teams Room Pro, it was actually called Teams Room Premium, which is a little bit confusing, of course. But so the one on the left, the one that we're talking about today is Teams Premium. This is the additional smarts for your Teams meetings. That's what we're here to talk about today. And then we've got Teams Room Pro, which used to be called Teams Room Premium, but now it's called Teams Room Pro. That's something totally different. That's an advanced licensing SKU for your MTRs, your Teams Room devices. They're the ones that you have in your meeting rooms, or your customers' meeting rooms, the ones that you walk up to. They got the touch screen and the camera, etc. Two different licensing SKUs, obviously named quite similar, but very different. So obviously try not to get those mixed up where possible. Now, I always like to start off with a bit of a marketing video. So let's jump in and just play this a second. This will give an overview of exactly what Teams Premium is. And perhaps I won't even need to say anything after this. Maybe this will cover everything else, but let's have a look a second. All right, so if some people couldn't hear the audio, that's okay, because we're just about to delve into each and every one of those features you just saw. That was a very quick snapshot of just under a minute of everything that Teams Premium can do today. So let's actually delve into some of those features. And yeah, as I said, if you do have questions throughout this, just jump in, raise your hand, put something in the chat. Now, when you look at Teams Premium, if you've already looked at the licensing SKU, there's essentially two parts to this. You've got features that the entire organization can use and can benefit from today, which we'll touch on first of all. And then you've got things that maybe specific parts of certain orgs can utilize. There'll be things such as webinars and bookings. Of course, the entire org isn't going to use the booking system. Maybe only a subset of your users will do. So we'll touch on that in a little bit, but let's go through the entire org features first of all. These are the ones that everyone can benefit from today with Teams Premium. So let's talk about meeting intelligence. Now, this is the one that I use most of the time inside of Microsoft. Now, it's no lie that we attend a lot of meetings inside of Microsoft. In fact, if you were to look at my calendar, every day is chockers. Every day is booked out. I can't attend all of those meetings. Like right now, I've got conflicting meetings. So I'm attending this one. I'm missing out on some other things that might be important to me. Of course, in the olden days before Teams Premium, I could go back and rewatch the recording, or I could go back and maybe scroll through the transcription. Now today, with Teams Premium, utilizing GPT 3.5 from OpenAI, so not Chat GPT, which is also built on the same platform. We've essentially taken the OpenAI GPT engine and we're running it inside of our own data centers on our own service. So we're not sending anything externally to do this. We're able to grab those key points, those action items where someone's mentioned the action item or mentioned your name during a meeting, pull that out into the meeting notes, flag it, and then notify you. So if Kirsty says to me, Craig, even though you're not in the call, I want you to buy everyone a coffee during the next meeting. I'm not entirely sure how that would work remotely, but I guess we'll figure it out. Uber Eats, perhaps. That would get flagged, and then so I can go back through and I can have a quick look at the meeting notes. I can have a quick look at the transcription. So rather than having to watch the entire meeting back, I can just very quickly have a look at the action items. What do I need to do before that next meeting? The tool will automatically grab that information out of the meeting and present it in a nice, easy to understand format that I can scroll through whenever I like, be that 5 minutes after the meeting or several days after the meeting. It also helps by reducing those language barriers as well. So today, with live translations, of course, there are certain things that you can do with that. But with Teams Premium, you're able to, on the fly, translate what a person's saying into a different language. So you're opening up your meetings to be more diverse, more inclusive to people that perhaps may have felt a little bit left out before. Of course, lastly there on the slide, you can see that the meeting recordings are a lot easier to navigate now too. So what the tool does is it automatically segregates what you're saying into chapters. So we may be talking about Teams Premium for the first part of this. We may start talking about football or cars or fishing or what Kirsty got up to at the weekend, such as Ed Sheeran. Teams will automatically grab those topics and split them out into chapters. So you can skip what I'm waffling on about. And if you want to go and listen to what Kirsty has to say about Ed Sheeran instead, you can jump straight to that part in the meeting recording, essentially saving you time. A little bit more on meetings as well. They're now more personalized with Teams Premium. So one of the things our customers have been asking us about is the ability to customize the look and feel of the meeting and to be able to use predefined meeting templates to help schedule the right kind of call. So Premium includes the ability to customize new meeting template guides. So this is something that IT will do in the background. And these are perfect to kind of create the right experience for your audience. Now, these guys have all the options set automatically. So from an end user point of view, all I need to do is join the meeting or create a new meeting, choose the right template, all the compliance policy settings, all the sharing settings, the meeting recording settings, who can talk, who can come off, or who can enable their webcam, for example. That's all set automatically. So I don't need to worry about any of those settings to ensure that I remain compliant from an internal business point of view. Of course, you can also customize the meeting join experience as well. So that's a screenshot in the middle of the slide there. So today, of course, when you join Teams meetings, the background looks the same, regardless of what customer call you're joining. But customers have been asking for the ability to essentially, oh, someone took control, fair enough, of my slides. That's interesting. Oh, and they're gone. How about we represent? Did you hit the wrong button, Ross? All good. Right, we'll bring it back up.
I can change the status so that everyone, just attendees, just in case for us, right. And I can promote you.
I like an extra challenge during a meeting. So exactly what just happened then with someone perhaps hitting the wrong button and accidentally creating over and sharing their screen, you can use templates to automatically set that up. So you don't need to worry about end users screwing around with meeting options. You select the template, you say I'm presenting externally, and it will automatically disable all of those features during the call. So that was actually a good example of potentially when you would use that, perhaps. I've not enabled that on this call, something that you could do, perhaps. And as I was saying before, you can create branding for your meeting landing page as well. So to obviously make customers feel like they're in the right call, they can is the right customer, you can create your customized meeting branding. So you've got your corporate logo up there, you've got a nice background as well. So make sure your customers are aware they're in the right meeting, they connect into the right call at the right time. And it sort of provides them that sort of level of safety as well. And to make sure they're obviously in the right call. And of course, you can create custom backgrounds as well and together modes for your org. So if you want to go ahead and create a custom corporate background, for example, and push that out to all of your team clients and configure those together modes. Not something I personally use, but if your org wants to set that up and be a little bit more inclusive, you can do that too, right from the Teams admin center. Cool. There's a short video on personalized meetings here as well. Let's play this a second. Now, hopefully the sound works for this one too. Cool. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you are having audio problems as well, feel free to obviously go back and watch the recording of this too. I'm assuming the audio should be fine there. All good. All right, let's talk about meeting protection. So our customers talk about protecting their meetings quite a bit. And we've created some unique features inside of Teams to protect your meetings and the content that's being shared as well. So first of all, with Teams Premium, you can enable end-to-end encryption for meetings as well as one-to-one calls too. So today, inside of Teams, if you're not using Teams Premium, your data is still encrypted. It's just encrypted in the back end, of course. When you enable Teams Premium, you're enabling end-to-end encryption for those meetings. One thing to point out is if you're using a cloud video interop service today, that's where you're using, I'd say, a third-party service such as from Cisco or from Poly, for example, or from Pexip, to bring your old school or your other vendor meeting devices into Teams meetings. You won't be able to use your end-to-end encrypted settings today. And the reason why that is because those devices, those third-party devices, won't be able to decrypt the video stream. So that's currently being worked on in the backlog as we speak. However, there is no date that's been penciled in for it. So if you are using those third-party services today, just keep that in mind. However, if you are a pure Teams shop, as to say, just using MTR Android or MTR Windows, this is a great feature to enable. You can also see there, possibly from the slide too, that there's a bit of a watermark going on in the background of the meeting content. Now, when you enable this, essentially what Teams does is it puts your email address across the slide. So if I was to take a screenshot of that slide during the meeting, it would have my email address all over it. Now, if Kirsty was to do it, it would have her email address all over it. What that means, of course, is that if Kirsty was then to leak that information, not suggesting she would, but if she was, for example purposes, it would have her email address and her name all over that slide. And so we would immediately know who it was that leaked that information. So it's a bit of a deterrent to those that want to go ahead and actually leak information from the org and from a meeting to have that watermark splashed all over that. Cool, and I heard someone unmute before. I'm not sure if someone had a question. All good? Cool. Okay, so that's the end of the entire org features that are available in Teams Premium today. As I said, those are the features that everyone in the organization, when this is enabled and everyone's licensed, can take advantage of from today. Now, the additional slides that I've got here, the 4 or 5 slides I've got here, are going to focus on specific specialist features within Teams Premium that may not apply directly to you, but they may apply to a particular area of your org or a particular customer that you're working with today. And the first one is virtual appointments and the advanced features that are available in Teams Premium. Now, if you're using virtual appointments today, you'll be aware that you have access to basic virtual appointment features. Premium adds to these features with the following additional. Oh, we've got a user from London as well, which is exciting. That's actually where I'm originally from in the UK. That's cool. Hello, Hammond. Now, additional features. So firstly, you can give customers a personalized end-to-end experience with pre-appointment SMS reminders, a branded lobby room, and post-appointment follow-ups. Now, some of those features are coming soon, so they're not available immediately today, and they're coming soon. I'll talk a little bit about that in a few slides' time. You'll also be able to see a queue view of scheduled and on-demand appointments in one location with pre-appointment chat capabilities as well. So you can also talk to your customers as well, even before the appointment begins. You'll also be able to view aggregated appointment insights and trends, such as no-shows and wait times, to help drive better customer experiences and create a frictionless join experience for clients without requiring them to download the Teams client to their phone. So they don't need to download the Teams client to their phone to take part in these virtual appointments. So really great for doctors, surgeries, anywhere where customers are essentially booking appointments. Now, customers may already be using a different system today, but they could potentially, if these features match and solve some of the problems that they're having today with their existing booking system, they could potentially move across the Teams and utilize those premium features and streamline their booking process inside of Teams itself without having to use another third-party app. Here's a quick video on virtual appointments itself, which sort of explains it a little bit more. Cool. I can see a couple of questions there in the chat. I might just hold those for a second. We've got a slide coming up that may provide some further information on that, if that's okay. But do keep those questions coming in as well. All right, on to the other feature that, again, is specific to certain people within the org, advanced webinars. So if you're already using webinars today in Teams, you know that there are a bunch of features that are available to you today. If you're not aware of what webinars are, essentially they're Teams meetings, but you can also, they have a registration portal that sits in front of the Teams meeting itself. So rather than just sharing a Teams meeting out to someone, you can create a Teams meeting and then put a registration portal in front of it, capture people's details, and then provide some reporting after the event itself. So with that Teams Premium SKU, you get a bunch of additional improvements, which includes being able to join a virtual green room. Now that's a separate space for presenters if you want to stage content, test their content, chat and prep with other presenters during or before the meeting actually starts. They can also respond to chats and Q&A within the attendees list as well, if they wish, but they're not viewable to attendees. So they're sat sort of behind the scenes, having a conversation with other presenters before they go on stage, as to say. You can also minimize distractions by creating and managing what attendees see on screen during webinars. So there's more controls around that now with Teams Premium. And of course, you can attract attendees with more than just a confirmation email by sending automatic reminder emails before the webinar as well. So some of our competing products will automatically do that. With Teams Premium webinars now, those features are actually included. So there's no need to use those third-party services to do something like that. And a short video about Teams webinars, because why not?
Sorry, mate. I mean, I think the danger is that we go in on the
Cool. Okay, and the last slide, and then after this slide, if it's okay with you, Kirsty, we'll turn off recording. I've got a few things I want to talk about, if that's okay. Oh, you're on mute. Oh, you're still on mute.
Yes, I just started bring it, just clicked it twice, and I was like, oh, that'll be right. Did a double tap. Yeah, that could be the joys of it. Can we chat about it towards the? Oh, we can. Just thinking in terms of stitching it together, because the recording goes up on YouTube.
Cool, cool. All right, we'll continue for the moment, and then we'll continue to the end, and then we'll. All good, no problem. All good. Lastly, the one thing I do want to talk about is the Microsoft ECDN. So some of you out there may have heard of what ECDNs are prior to this. Essentially, what they do is they offer the ability to grab a copy of the stream that's coming down during a Teams live event and redistribute it on your internal network. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, with everyone sort of starting to come back to the office, you start having this problem of where orgs want to run big town halls. Now, if you're working from home, you're watching that town hall live stream using your own internet connection. Or if you're on your mobile and you're in a coffee shop, you're using maybe the coffee shop's Wi-Fi or your own 4G connection. Now that's fine because your device is making a one-to-one connection to our streaming services, consuming your own internet. Now, when you come back into the office, if you've got 100 or 500 or even 1,000 people trying to watch the same live event, the same town hall event across one office internet connection, you're going to swamp that internet connection, and it may grind to a halt because you've got 1,000 people trying to watch the same stream, right? It's a little bit like when everyone jumps on to watch the Super Bowl, I guess, in the US, and it all kind of falls over. Now, that's not because our servers can't support it. It's because your internet connection that you've got, you're trying to squeeze too many video streams down the single pipe, and obviously it can't support it. So what a CDN does is, instead of everyone connecting directly to our service and pulling down their own video stream, it actually grabs 1 or 2 or 3 copies of that video stream and it redistributes it across your internal network. So your internet, instead of 1,000 streams coming across it, there's only 1 to 2 or 3 streams coming down from the internet. And then it utilizes your internal network, which obviously has a lot more bandwidth available to it and is a lot more stable than the internet, and to redistribute that video content. The end result is everyone gets a really clear, high quality stream. From an end user perspective, they don't know they're using an ECDN. All they do is they click the join link. There's nothing special about the way that they join the meeting. They just click the join link and they're in the call, and they get a good experience, which is obviously what we want to do at the end of the day. Now, if you are working with customers, or you are a customer that's experiencing issues with live events, and one of those issues being your network falls over when you try and run live events, have a look at ECDNs. Now, full disclosure, we have our own. There are others available as well. It looks like someone's on the train. Hello. Essentially, if you have a Teams Premium license SKU available to you today, the Microsoft eCDN becomes part of that. So this forms part of the premium SKU, and you can use this today within your org. There's very little setup involved in deploying this. You turn it on. There's a little bit of networking configuration involved, which is available in our docs, and it's up and running. And it works within your org, on your mobile devices, and on your desktops and your laptops as well. Highly, highly recommend you have a look at this, especially if you're running live events. Now, it only does work with live events today. If you are running those big town hall style live event video events, definitely have a look at enabling the Microsoft eCDN. And as I said, it's included as part of Teams Premium as well. So we've spoken about Teams Premium a whole heap load. How do you actually test this if you want to start using this within your org today? Well, there's two options, of course. You can obviously purchase a license, or you can apply for a trial, which will give you up to 25 seats, which are good for 30 days. So you can jump into the Office 365 portal today, jump over to billing, purchase services, just search for Teams Premium. Up will come the trial, and you can grab 25 of those licenses, good for 30 days. Now, I'm going to recommend that you hold off. And there's a reason for this. The reason for this today, so if you're watching the recording right now and it's past, say, the end of March and it's early April, go ahead, grab the trial today. It makes sense. If you're not quite at this point, I mean, it's what, the 7th of March today, hold off. And the reason I say hold off is because some of those features are not immediately available today in Premium. Some of the ones we spoke about are available today. Some of them aren't. You may wish to hold off and before you trial Teams Premium until some of those features or all of those features become available in Australia. Now, the best place to check today as to what's available, so don't rely on me telling you what's available, jump over to aka.ms/O365 roadmap. There are other AKA addresses available for that as well. That's the Office 365 roadmap. That's where you want to look to see what Teams Premium features are available today, and if you want to jump in and trial it today based on what's available. eCDN is available today. The secure background sensitivity labels inside of Teams to automatically tag your content, all of that stuff's available today. Free steak knives, not available today. Subject to availability, isn't that right, Kirsty? But yes, as I said, I would recommend holding off just for the moment. Just give it a little bit of time until maybe a couple of weeks or so, and then jump in and have a look at the trial. Would be my recommendation. So what's next? As I say, when you get the opportunity to do test the premium version today for free, to jump into the portal, grab that trial license if it has all the features that you want, or if you want to hold off for a couple of weeks, that's okay too. The trial will still be there. You can jump across to the Teams Premium website as well, which goes through in greater detail everything that I've spoken about today. Of course, you can talk to your Microsoft Accounts team as well, who will point you in the right direction too. There is also a blog available too that talks a lot about the features that are available today and what's coming. And of course, you can explore the landscape of global hybrid work if you wish, which we're well and truly in now. Make no doubt about that over at our Work Lab website there as well. If those links are not clickable for you today, I believe Kirsty will share a copy of the PowerPoint deck, and I can do that too. And those links will be clickable for you as well. All right, now over to Q&A, and I did see a whole bunch of questions, and it's totally fine to record this for the moment. Kirsty, I'm just scrolling back up through a second, so I can see some questions around what is needed for SMS notification. So that's still being worked out in Australia. SMS is not available today in Australia. It's depending on what version you're running, it may work for you. The way that it has been working in other countries, essentially, is that there is no third-party service or add-on or telco rates that are applied for that. It is part of the SKU. That's subject to change, though. So don't rely on what I'm telling you. Have a look at the actual licensing details when you go and actually purchase the SKU itself. All of this is essentially subject to change, of course. I did see a question around who requires a copy of the license. So again, some of that is being rewritten as we speak today, at least. So long as the person that creates the meeting has the premium SKU, that will apply to everyone in the call, both internal and external. That is subject to change. I don't know what it's going to change to. I'm not sure if Ross has anything further to add to that, but I do know that that is being written or rewritten at present. So watch this space there. Just having a look up through the questions there as well.
So Kai's actually asked, can you integrate the webinar with an email platform such as like Active Campaign, so you can design a sort of a journey leading up to the event? And I know that there has been some, a few things in regards to embedding or putting it on a web page, or because it's already on its own web page, so then that does make it that little bit sort of more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some ideas that you can do with that. So that's a question we often do get asked. Because it is a web page, essentially you can integrate it into something else if you want to. You can add it as a link. I always advise customers to use the URL shortening services when they send links out to customers, even for live events as well. And the reason I say that is if you send a customer a hard link to something that you've created, and then further down the track you go, crap, I actually need to update this. We need to create a new event. You're going to have to resend an email out to the customer with a new link. Whereas if you use a URL shortening service like Bitly, for example, others are available. That's the one I personally use. You can just go into Bitly and update where that link points to, and without having to resend it out to customers. So that might be an option for you. So whilst there's no direct integration with that today, there are obviously workarounds for that.
Okay. Brendan's asked a question in regards to, is the underlining ECDN collective by chance?
Do you know, I actually don't know, but I don't believe it is. No. So collective it would be one of our competitors, and it certainly is suitable for live streaming events as well, and works very well.
Got MS Teams templates for enterprise EDU tenants are now part of Premium 2. Is that correct?
I would need to check that for you. However, as a more high level answer to questions around licensing, so we do have on our Teams Premium website, we do have some FAQs around how licensing is handled, because some of what has been seen today was available in the advanced communications SKU, and some customers have gone out and obviously purchased advanced communication SKUs. Now, the best answer I have for you is please do speak with your Microsoft account manager, potentially about bringing those licenses over to Teams Premium, because of course you want to get the best out of that licensing SKU, right? As opposed to just paying for a subset of what's available by the advanced communications today. So whilst I don't have a direct answer for you, because it will depend, the best advice I have is speak to your account manager.
Okay. And I know we'll probably have some other questions or a discussion maybe at the end when we've turned the recording off, Craig.
Yeah, for sure. Does anyone have any questions? Any burning?
Free to raise.
Yeah, feel free to raise your hand as well, or come off mute and jump in. A question for everyone on the call. When I presented this to the Brisbane UC group,
you're not being heckled.
No, exactly. First of all, I got heckled. It's really good.
Didn't we all?
I know. I got a 4X as well, which I didn't drink. I poured it down the sink because it was awful.
You said you didn't mind it.
I was being nice, you know.
Of course.
Throwing me out of the room. Yeah, it was. I think that's what they do with the excess Brisbane floodwater, don't they? They just bottle it up and sell it for it.
Yeah, clearly.
But one of the questions I put to everyone was, what do you think about this licensing SKU? And one of the responses I got back was, that there's bits and pieces in here that we could use, bits and pieces that part of the organization could use. So I'm interested to hear what people think on the call. I feel like the security and customizations and intelligence around the meeting aspects is fantastic inside of Teams Premium. I use it almost on a daily basis here inside of Microsoft, and it definitely improves my day-to-day workflow with meetings. So I'm keen to hear some people's thoughts on the call. Feel free to unmute and jump in. Tell me it's rubbish if you like. You might hurt my feelings, but yeah, if anyone has any opinions on what they think.
Sure, it's Bryce here. Just, I guess it seems true to form to Microsoft finding another way to earn some money, but at the same time, there are definitely new features, and in order to develop new features, you've got to pay people. So can understand to some extent The fun part is where we introduce some of these features initially as a part of the existing packages, and then they get removed and put into the premium suites, as has happened in the past. That can be a little bit challenging for admins, especially when users are already used to an existing set of features and functionality, and then suddenly it's removed because we can't afford to continue the next license, like the move from A3 to A5 for EDUs. That was a fun one. Audit basically got involved and said, okay, well, we're just going to suggest that A5 is the one that all the universities should be on now. Lump it. So anyway, the one that I mentioned earlier about the templates for Teams was one that we recently discovered because we were looking to actually implement something like that just prior to the announcement of the Teams Premium coming through. And that's basically shut down that option for now because we're not looking to pay more at this point.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, Bryce. And I guess one of the challenges that customers have been telling us, and I've heard, is that of course those features that were available previously and then get moved across to a premium SKU, and how do you explain that to a customer? And of course, yeah, that is a difficult conversation to have. My advice to customers or to partners when they encounter things like that is to definitely have a conversation with the account manager. They're there to help with those transitions. And yeah, so don't sit there and suffer in silence, especially if it is something that a customer has been calling out for. Definitely have a conversation with the account manager for sure. They're there to help. Just seeing Phil's comment as well about customers on E5 that should be included, and a few thumbs up. That's an interesting point of view as well. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take that one across to internally as well. Just out of interest, Phil, if I can poke there a little bit further, are there particular features that you see there that you'd want included on E5, and other features that you would potentially see as extra costs? Just out of interest. This is dangerous territory, of course, but
yeah, no, I think the CDN features would be something you'd pay for, but I think all the other features, just like everyone's saying, it feels like they're natural advancements that should just be included in a base license.
Interesting. Okay. Thanks for your honest feedback there, Phil. Very much appreciated.
No worries.
Not sure that E5 is technically base license, well, but yeah, it's a good point.
Cool.
If we don't have any other questions coming through, we'll have a little bit more maybe towards the end as well. Let's get stuck in. Thank you very much, Craig. I appreciate you.
No problem.
You're doing that. So let's bring up. Okay. Let's get stuck in now. We're moving forward. I'll have everyone on mute for me, please. Brilliant. So let's get started on the what's new to adoption, then what's new to Microsoft 365. There's been, as always, lots happening over the last month. So we'll do our get in and do our jam-packed sort of 30 to 40 minutes. Right. So in terms of what's new in adoption, I'm always putting new videos up and running on the YouTube channel. So these sessions are available on the YouTube channel for you, as well as I have the whole Ask Me Anything sessions that I do alongside other specialists and MVPs and RDs around the world. We come together and ask all sorts of things. So if you do have a question, you can always throw it into the chat from the meeting, and we could always answer it on YouTube as well if you like. So we pull questions from a variety of different ways. Okay. The Champions Call, they haven't actually put the recording live just yet from last month, but you can download the presentation around some of the what's new. They do go through a little bit around the adoption score. It's an overview there, so I do like that particular session. In terms of release notes on the adoption site, underneath what's new, so if you come up to the very end and under what's new, it will give you release notes. So if you really want to know what's kind of happening across adoption and the adoption site, there are all these great updates for you to be able to draw and pull from. There's the latest in terms of the Work Lab newsletters. There's always new information. One of the new features that's come in is you can actually go in and sign up so you can keep up to date. So go do a sign up of the newsletter, and then that way any Work Lab newsletters that do come through, there's a variety of different topics that they've got underneath the Work Lab newsletter. So I do particularly enjoy some of the different features and functionality that come out around better ways of working, for example, hybrid. So I'd recommend going in and having a read through WorkLab. Microsoft Viva also has now a registration page to be able to help you bring together all that sort of learning information. So you can go in there and start receiving a newsletter information for Viva. Microsoft Lists have got virtual workshops there. It was actually previously recorded. They're now all up live, making it a little bit easier for you to be able to see part 1, part 2 around lists. They are on demand, so you can go watch them. All this presentation is going to be available for you, Mohammed, and the link is currently pinned in chat, so you'll be able to go see the presentation. It's pinned in chat. There is a new Viva Learning flyer that's actually come out. You can download, you can customize, and you can be sending that out in your organization around what is Viva Learning, should you be rolling it out. There are Microsoft List virtual workshops on the demand, so you can go, we saw them there, but there's also a PowerPoint presentation with speaker notes. So I do particularly like this because it's got a sample Excel file and a few other features as trainers, if you are here as a trainer, to be able to help and support you on demoing Microsoft Lists. There is always the episodes with Stephen. Unfortunately, Stephen is no longer with Microsoft, which is a bit of a sad change. We've had a few changes across Microsoft of those that are in there. He was always a fabulous advocate, and I have been part of his episodes and series in the past. But there are some really great ones that you can actually go to and watch. I would highly recommend going in and seeing some of his episodes. They are all on the inside Microsoft Teams. There's lots of different recordings. So have a look at some of the past ones. I think I was #1 on season 6, if I remember rightly. The newsletter, we haven't had the latest newsletter come out, but I've just kept it in here for you, for those that haven't been in previously for the January newsletter. You can sign up to it so that you can receive it. I do recommend that. There are new podcasts and shows that have actually gone live. There are all the different various areas. The one I do particularly love is Coffee in the Cloud with Caruana. She tends to be very focused on the adoption piece, and it does have the link in there to the Inside Microsoft Teams as well, but there is some good content. The Viva Learning Adoption Flyer. So there is a 4-step learning flyer. It is a PDF you can download. It's got lots of great links. I highly recommend that one. And we do have next month, don't forget, next month we have Andrea Lum from Viva Learning coming in and actually speaking with us about it. So I'm looking forward to that. The Microsoft blog, go keep an eye out of the latest. So at the moment, as you can see, it's January. If you want to have a look at some of the past ones, you can go and have a look. The community days. So these community days are all over the globe. So they can be at different time zones. So it depends on if you're traveling. Some of them are virtual, some aren't, for example. So keep an eye out on them. There might be a few ones that you would like to get involved or engaged on. The Microsoft Tech community events are also there. Often they do tend to be a little bit more slanted towards the technical side of things, but every now and again, there is some really good information. The one that I particularly liked recently was the Teams sign language view inside Microsoft Teams, some of those accessibility features. So that was one I did like. Don't forget to go into the Modern Work Superheroes. They've got their latest February news, and video has actually gone on with lots of awesome links to be able to support you across this space. Their YouTube channel will also have some various topics. There's a lot more than this, of course, and there's another whole, down even further. But go and have a look at some of the recordings. There's some short, sharp features there. In terms of the digest, if you have read rights, for example, to the message center, depending on the type of rights that you've actually got in Administrator, if you are across the learning space, adoption, change, and or you're here from technical standpoint, it's always a good idea to really keep an eye out on the message center. There has actually been some updates in the message center. Some of the ones that I have particularly liked is relevance as to high, medium, kind of low over here, so that now you can filter by relevance. The status for your organization in terms of launching, rolling out, and scheduling, and you can actually say, do you want it? How does it look like in terms of focus? But I also particularly love the new feature is preferences. So you can go in and pick and choose the different technologies you want to look at. So for me, I'm not looking at all the really high, full-on technical, so I can try to turn those ones off and get focused and filter down to what I need to help you guys to digest based on the admin piece. So that's some of the adoption features. Let's now have a look at what's new in Microsoft 365. I always present based on more that end user business experience rather than the technical side of things. Every now and again, I'll talk a couple of things technical if I think it's really going to impact your end user journey. So this is my main focus. So what's new in Microsoft 365? So there is going to be basic functionality around those virtual appointments. So we looked at virtual appointments in the Teams premium space. There is some basic coming through so that you can have some custom fields and you can then tailor the meeting invite for external guests. Then that way they have the ability to be able to join without needing to install Teams. And there's also that pre-appointment lobby so that they can enter before the meeting begins. So I do like that feature and functionality coming into standard. There is explicit recording consent. So now this is coming in. When it comes in, it is off by default, by the way. So what happens is in the recording, I'm recording this session, for example. So when it comes to the recording, it will ask each individual to explicitly accept the recording. And it's up to them whether they want to be recorded or not. Then once that happens, that user audio and video and screen sharing, they won't be captured as part of the recording if they go no. Okay, so that can actually be turned on. And then that consent is also logged in the attendance report. So this is actually flowing through, but it is off by default. When it comes to the calling side of things, we've got a multitasking with picture-in-picture mode. So that means if you're on a meeting on your phone and you click away from it, it will still keep the picture within the pictures for you to be able to move around and place it where you want on the screen. Okay, so it stays up and over the top of your device, whatever it is you click around. There is support for more, so there's further support for the co-organizer when it comes to managing the breakout rooms so that you can actually create, manage and edit your breakout rooms. So that's flowing through. And then the presenter window usability improvements. When it comes to screen sharing, it's actually going to make the active speaker face quite clearly visible during that screen sharing and the raising hand notifications being surfaced a little bit more so that we can have some improved awareness around it. Sometimes we don't see when someone's hand is raised. So then what's new to Teams chat? So you can start your Teams chat now. You've got your distribution group, mail-enabled security groups, or a Microsoft group for you to be able to have a chat with. So that is flowing in. Have talked about this a little previously, but what I like, the next feature is that schedule send suggestions with Viva Insights as well, and it's coming into chat. So you'll have that in chat, not just in posting. So it'll all flowing through. Another one is the mentioning everyone in that private chat, in those one-on-ones and group chats. So if you've got a group chat, you can mention everyone. Okay, that sort of reduces that needing to mention all these individual people. Another one is your profile cards. You're going to be able to put your pronouns into your profile cards in Teams and Outlook on the web. So you can actually state, are you the he, she, they, them, for example. So there is some information in here around setting that up. What does it look like? Best practices, for example, and any other FAQ. So this is coming out fairly soon in terms of around late March. The help. So help functionality used to actually go to its own window inside Teams. What's happening is when you go into help now, it's going to be a pop-out functionality, so you can stay in context and click around and still be able to watch the video or whatever it is that you need as support and have it beside it effectively. So they're now going to be working alongside with its own pop-out screen. This one I particularly like. If you've got Apple device, I have an Apple, and if you've got one of those and you hop into your car and it's got Apple CarPlay in, you now have your team meetings can come up through Teams in there for you to be able to play and listen to and join meetings through your car to make it a little safer, so you can click on the Apple Play screen rather than touching your phone. So I do like that one. Another one is suggested files. So in your one-on-one chat, if you actually have, so those sort of AI suggestions come through and it says, if you have, do you want to respond with, yes, no, thanks, you had that. But now it's going to come up with a suggestion of a file based on what it is they've asked or what you've said. So I do like this sort of quick suggestion around sending information. Look, we've had the announcement in regards to Yammer becoming Viva Engage. So we had Viva Engage, and it was originally sitting inside Teams, and we had then the Yammer app and the application through a browser. That is all now coming into line. There is a lot of great information around there when it comes to working on Viva Engage. Thanks for some of the questions, Hamid. I will come back around and I'll just clarify some of your questions. So thanks for putting it in there, but I will come back to you. So when we had in September, we talked about some of those new capabilities coming through. Some of the new release on the features is, and we've talked about them previously. So in, I think it was back, here we go, in August last year, I had the team coming in and speaking at the user group to talk about some of the features and functionality that was coming down the line. We talked about Storyline, for example. You do have the Leadership Corner, the Ask Me Anything in terms of events. So you've got your questions going in there. There are social media campaigns. There's some great advanced analytics and those answers in Viva. So I do like answers in Viva, and I will show you a little bit more around that. But there's lots of content there. I haven't sort of gone into a lot of depth. I would highly recommend going up and actually having a look through some of the blogs to dive into some of these new features. Now, so that you're aware of what's coming out when, first, it's going to be across Outlook and mobile with the evolving over to Engage. And then second will be the web experience. So February, we're going to start seeing some of that branding. March will then, flow over in the mobile app. So first we got the Yammer mobile app and the banner badging. Then it's going to come over. You'll still be able to discover Yammer for a little while, but the Communities app in Outlook, so that Communities app will actually rebrand to Viva Engage. And you'll then start to see how it's starting to flow through, right through to later on in the year. The URLs will start to be updated. There's a lot of work to convert over from Yammer to Viva Engage. There is a Viva Engage Ask Me Anything. I did talk about it last month if you wanted to join. If you missed it, you can go into the Viva Engage AMA. There are some really great questions in there that have actually been answered, sort of a bit of an FAQs follow-on for you if you wanted to go and have a look. There is a new admin center for Viva Engage. So if you are a community manager, for example, as part of that Viva Engage environment, there is some really great new features and functionality to be able to support you in the admin center. And it then will reflect some of those options based on the tenant license plan and the role that's actually assigned. So that is directly inside sort of Viva Engage, and you can see it then in Teams. Viva Connections is allowing you now, so you've got your sending the praise from the Viva Connections dashboard. Okay. So they were then available as part of your standard toolbox, so you can go and send praise directly from the Connections dashboard now. SharePoint have a part 1 and part 2 when it comes to Community Hub and how to actually make a Community Hub rather pretty. I do like these 2 blogs that have come out if you need to do a bit of design work with SharePoint. So what's new in SharePoint when it looks at that roadmap pit stop. So if you wanted to go in and have a look, it's the intranet zone. So some of the features and functionalities I have talked about, so I won't repeat them, but some of the ones that I do like, and I have spoken about this previously, the new playlists that are available in lists. There is a great blog around this now and a step-by-step on how to, as well as a video that's been put up by Mark Cashman. I do particularly like that to help us understand, and it's one that you could potentially use inside your organisation and plug into a learning team, for example. Another feature that's new in SharePoint is, so Viva Topics is bringing in that integration with Viva Engage. So the topic guards will actually show Engage when you hover over it and will start to highlight topics, as well as including content from Engage, such as the Q&A and other relevant conversations that you might find in the community flowing through into topics. That kind of aggregator of all of your information across the business, sort of flowing all into one. I do like it. So I did present last month in terms of requesting files for SharePoint. This, the blog actually dives into it a little bit more for you, some of the steps around it. Plus there was a picture of what it looks like on the other end for the user. So I thought I would just come and drop this in so you could physically see what it looks like when it's been sent. We can now look at exporting lists as a data set to Power BI. So you can go in SharePoint and go export. You've got the export menu for Microsoft Lists to be able to put that up into Power BI and be able to work on your content in Power BI direct from lists. So that's a bit of a connector now through. There has been an update to the rules around email notifications for lists and libraries. So a rule can actually be created and then sent out as automatic emails based on a particular event that you might put in that list or library. Now, previously as well, it used to come from the no reply email address, but now it is actually going to come out specifically from the person who either last modified the rule and or who created the rule. It's like, yay, because that was always one thing, and it makes it that little bit easier to be able to find and reply as well. Now, we did discuss the wiki retirement when it comes to the future of Teams notes when it goes into a channel. The user does have the option to be able to export wiki content, which is really important, and be able to drop it into OneNote. After exporting, then you can go into the Notes tab and be able to continue to collaborate. But you do need to understand that once that's done, you can continue to access and edit the existing wiki, but you can't create new ones. So if you've already done an export and then you start to edit the wiki, you need to be a little careful, because if you've already done the export, then it might potentially cause you some issues. We've got information in both places. When we use Microsoft Teams now to be able to produce your Yammer live events, we will see this start to go Viva, who do the Viva Engage live events. We're still seeing some of that wording and flowing through, but I do like the fact that we can produce those via Teams. So the retiring of Stream live events is coming soon. So if you're used to using Stream, that will actually change. And then that successor service is Teams to be able to do this with the same functionality. When it comes to SharePoint pages and authoring, there are a couple of little features and functionality to be able to support you. It is that proofing of text in a variety of languages. It's got editor spell checking going on to be able to help you proof text in multiple languages. You also have some better control over the spacing of text. It used to be that it did a kind of a new paragraph when you created it. Now it's a new line. I know, right, Bryce? It's like, yay. If you spend a bit of time on SharePoint, you know how frustrating that is. So now it'll do a new line in terms of those web parts. There's also some changes around the hero web part. It's removing the support when it comes to external images and recommending now an upload of that image based on stock images and other locations. So it's not doing sort of the standard external. So that existing hero web part that you've actually got, external images will still continue to work, but any new one will actually then do that recommended based on your site or stock images. The theming update. So the initial color scheme and the look and feel is not in line with the new Microsoft look and feel where it's based on the teal coloring. So when you go to do your site settings and you want to change the look, it's now got different features and functionalities of what you're going to grab for your themes now. So that has been a bit of an adaptation to the original blue over to teal. OneDrive has set up for a customer office hours. It's run on the third Wednesday of every month. Now, the time is 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific time, so that is going to be the early hours of the morning for us who are here in Australia. If you're from the US, you'll probably be fine, but it will be available to be able to join if you want to look at things like the roadmap or provide any feedback, or if there's any Q&A that you actually have around OneDrive. So they are running that every month. In OneDrive, I have previously spoken about the new functionality and the feature and look and feel of the OneDrive interface coming into line with some of the other functionality across 365. One of them I wanted to put in was being able to have your favorites. So you can actually go and you can star it and or click on the ellipsis and say you want something as a favorite. So in your OneDrive, you'll be able to find them then as your favorites. So that's actually coming into play now. We talked about it as part of the Ignite update. So it's good to see this starting to hit us. Custom templates in Whiteboard. This one is one I love because if you do spend a lot of time doing the type of workshopping and programs and training that I do, there's often different things that I might create. You can now save those as a custom layout to be able to use quickly on new whiteboards moving forward. And then you can actually share that with other individual users and or your distribution lists to be able to send it out. So I like those custom templates. When it comes to Viva Connections, on the Home tab, it has had a bit of an experience change when it comes to the dashboard. So there are growing lists of third-party cars, the ability to be able to use SharePoint framework, and on the feed, the content is going to be based on that individual viewer and what they need, and having it come through around preferences that will be built over time. And some of the resources that are flowing in there are based on frequent and followed sites, and they are going to be dynamically generated to be able to display the right links unique to that particular individual user. So it's all about that user experience and what are they doing and where are they going and what's most popular now surfacing for them as part of this new home experience on Viva Connections. Another one is, with this particular update, the SharePoint home site is no longer a requirement for deploying connections. So if you have a home site and it's already created, it will automatically incorporate the new home experience as part of those Viva Connections, and the home site will be displayed as an icon up in the top right-hand corner for them to be able to navigate and go to. So that Viva space is looking just a little different with a new experience. When it comes to answers and some of those analytics on Viva Engage, of the components that we talked about of the new features and going over to Viva Engage. There are 3 new core analytical pieces that you can actually see in Answers in Viva. It's meaningful view, time saved, and people helped. So if you want to go and have a look, so you can start to see time saved with using Answers, those analytics will start to surface for our admins that are actually looking after Answers. There is an Answers playbook, by the way, as well. I would recommend going and having a look at the Answers playbook to be able to help and support you on that feature. Coming into Office is if you open up a file on your desktop and you haven't actually done the save to OneDrive, save to SharePoint, and it doesn't have autosave turned on, you will get now these smart save reminders that will pop up to go, you might want to save it in terms of putting it into your local drive, giving it a name so it's not just document 1. So you get these little pop-ups to remind you. So that is coming soon. 30 years in the making, I know, right? When it comes to Outlook, the message recall. Often we had a lot of difficulties when it came to message recall, and it was in the desktop version. Now what's happening is it's going to be sitting as part of the Exchange Online functionality, which gives us a much better success rate when it comes to recall. I think it's about like a 95% recall rate now to effectively be able to bring in, and then it offers that aggregated report around the recall to be able to support. Looking forward to that. The what's new to Excel. Look, I did speak last month about the formula and what it actually looked like to do a formula by example. So there is a web that's got a website now with the blog on a step-by-step. So this means that if you start to type in something in particular that you wanted around bringing information together. So you go, I want to bring in first name, last name, and have them all in capitals, for example. Or I want to bring that data and that data, and as you type, it does its autofill. Now what it will do is in the back end, it creates the formula for you in the back end, showing you exactly how it's done it. And that is in the web version. It's now got a step-by-step around what it's doing, how it's doing, what it looks like, and what you can do with on the back of it. So I do like that blog. The inserting pictures in cells with the image functionality, another blog in here around that how-to step-by-step. So I do like that. The one feature I did like in terms of the what's new to Excel was that in pivot tables, when it comes to the web now, is the ability to be able to drag your rows and column values around. So you can do a drag. Coming to PowerPoint. When we embed a video into our PowerPoint presentation, the downside of that is we often don't have closed captions for that particular video when you go to play it. Now what you can do is, as part of your video, you do get an accessibility tab, and as part of that accessibility tab, once you've done that accessibility tab up the top here, you then get the ability as part of accessibility to insert captions for your video. So you can then load in any captions that you've actually got, and then it will run as part of notes that will read out as an accessibility feature and functionality for those that have a disability when it comes to hearing. So that's coming out soon. Events and conferences. So that was all our what's new to M365, plenty always happening. There is the Sweet Breakfast coming up this Friday. Highly recommend. Dr. Heidi Gardner is coming in to have a chat around smarter collaboration. It is a free breakfast. It's being held in Sydney, should you wish to go. It's at 9 o'clock this Friday. If you'd like to register, please register to reserve a spot so that the team know that they're supplying breakfast for you. Okay. A new user group that's actually in Sydney is the Workplace Ninja Australia. So this is focused a little bit more on the technical side, but there is some interesting speakers coming in from Tourism Australia and Sydney Airport, for example, and Channel 9, if you wanted to go and have a look at that one. The Digital Workplace Conference, it's just been held over in New Zealand. It will be moving to Australia this year. It's going to be held in Melbourne. It's on the 7th to the 8th of June. If you register now, you'll actually have a really good saving on that if you do that before the end of the month. So if you want to join us at the Digital Workplace Conference, then I would recommend go and register. There is a ton of events all around the world also happening in terms of conferences. Should you wish to join, some of them are virtual. Should you want to get involved in them from a virtual perspective? Okay. And we've got our usual, where do you find? Get involved and have the adoption newsletter. We'll advise a lot of what I'm telling you. Well, it comes out somewhat regularly, and you can do that through LinkedIn. Okay. All our adoption resources to help and support. I keep these up to date for you. Where do you find, or where do I find a lot of the latest information, as well as some of the other core user groups that we've got around Australia to help you. The user group that I have run in the past, you'll find all of those up on YouTube, so you can go and watch them should you wish to. I'll keep these links up to date each month. So what have we done in the past? What's next? Next month, it's going to be held at 12:30, not 12 o'clock, because I'm going to be down in Adelaide. It's actually needs to be 12:30 for me there, 12:30 for you, but it's 12 o'clock for me when I'm in Adelaide. So I have to, unfortunately, keep it at the 12 when I'm there. So it will just change by about 30 minutes. We are going to be looking at Viva Learning with Andrea Love. So Andrea Lum is the product marketing manager. She has previously presented at the beginning of last year, I think it was. She used to be over in the Microsoft Lists space. So she has now moved over into Viva Learning. And the month after, we were originally going to have Corey coming in and speaking this month. Unfortunately, there was a clash, so we've moved him now to May, and he'll be coming in to talk about transitioning IT when it comes to change for IT. Okay, that will be in 2 months, effectively. So if we have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now. So I'll come back. I know, and I did have some questions. Okay, saving Teams chat. So in terms of saving Teams chat, are we talking about, actually, Hammond, you can always come off mute, so I can just double check and I can be clear around saving Teams chat and the voice operation. I gather you're talking about the Apple Play there on that one. Not sure if he's still there. Okay, that's okay. Or you can come off or raise your hand. Brendan, the Exchange recall at this moment is about internal when it comes to the recall. Now, when it comes to external, that is a feature that we have talked about previously as coming, but it is at this point around internal and making sure that it's working a little better on internal. Any other questions? Please feel free to raise your hand. Can Microsoft 365 users use Teams Premium, talking Teams Premium? They can if they've received the license. You only have to get the license to one individual. So one individual who is running, say, a webinar, for example, will have all the features and functionality for that particular webinar, and whoever's on the call will have that. If you're talking some of the org-wide, bigger business type ones that you want for everyone, then you're going to need to use Premium for everyone. Ross, that's pretty much it, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, can I clarify that?
Yes.
So, Kirsty, Roland, yeah. If I'm looking at Teams Premium for the meeting summary, right?
Yes.
And the organizer of the meeting has a Teams Premium license. It was my understanding that you will not get an automatic summary or to-do for people who attended the meeting that did not have the Teams Premium license. Am I wrong there?
No. My understanding,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So when you've got that Teams Premium license, you get the benefit.
Yeah, you get the benefits. But we can do things like do the 40 languages translate and that. They'll all see those benefits. But when it comes to personal things for me, summarization of the meetings, automation of to-dos and stuff like that, that is only to people who have the license.
That's correct.
Yeah, so
All
I
right,
sometimes
thank
think
you.
about it as if you're just looking at a few people in your org, you might look at the VIPs, or there might be particular people that you think, I might start a Teams premium license there because it's a bit like that electronic assistant for them, and potentially they would look at it and go, yep, that's worth my time.
Yeah, Teams power users. Anecdotally, I'm seeing about 20% of people shifting to Teams Premium within the org. Not unlike Power BI, but not the whole org shifting at this stage.
Yeah, and it comes down to the individual user. Ultimately, they go, I want to use that. And often it comes down to, I want to use that webinar feature, or I need this, and it's like one core feature, and then so they get premium, get the other features and functionality. It really comes down to who's the person that's needs that feature, then you tend to light it up for them, is what I've seen so far. Yeah, Raleigh?
Awesome, thank you.
So Bryce, we have on occasion been selective in assigning these licenses to test the premium feature to see if they were actually useful in our context. How did you go with that, Bryce? Have they found it useful?
You win some, you lose some. It's given the size of the org, and that it fluctuates fairly often with both part-time and full-time employees. You really want to be sure about what you're implementing across the board, because the license charge can escalate quite quickly. But you know, there have been the occasional license that has worked out well for us. So most of our internal calls and external calls are all through Teams now as a result. So that's an example there.
So unified communications. So then you're using it there as part of the unified communications to do what in particular off the back then? So what's that core feature that you're using that they're enjoying for?
We do have an internal service desk, for example, and some of the ways in which they handle calls through there were used on other platforms. We had other platforms to serve the needs there. So two people taking the same call, or being able to access the same call, or just stuff that previously wasn't available via Microsoft, but now is. We're starting to utilize the Teams offering to accommodate that now instead of the other platforms.
Yeah, I'd consider what Kirsty was saying earlier. It's really, you want to get the right Teams features, you want to get the right features in the hands of the right users, because those features in the hands of the wrong users, there's definitely no value, and they'll look at it and go, this doesn't help me at all. But in the hands of the right users selectively, they're the ones that go, this helps me a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So I've just dropped the presentation in for you, Mohammed. That's an anyone link, so anyone should be able to get to the presentation. In terms of the YouTube channel, it's a standard. So if you want to look at the recording, so I'm just here. I can even just bring it in for you. So you get I've probably already got it here. I'll do the full link for you as well, or you can go AKA MS/M365 adoption. So that's the full YouTube link to be able to help and support you in terms of the recording if you need to go back to any previous sessions. All right, thank you everyone for joining. Unfortunately, look like Craig had to drop off the call, so he's not here. But I mean, Ross, you might be able to answer some questions. I can stop recording if anyone. We'll see. If I'll turn that off now. Thank you, everyone, for coming along yet again. I do appreciate your support. I'm going to turn off the recording now.
Thank you.
Yeah.